Hello everyone, this is Juan Bloise here with Washington Interpreters with another video update. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the L&I procurement process, another installment of the questions and answers document, explaining a few things that I think are going to be of interest to our interpreting community. The situation with the SOSi crash and how that's still affecting many interpreters, how the WFSE union is powerless when it comes to these crashes, and their response to a specific interpreter. Now, let's pay attention, share this video with all interpreters you know, so let's get started. Because, unfortunately, the SOSi on-the-spot app still crashing, affecting many interpreters and our ability to function daily. And of course, the WFSE union is still powerless when it comes to this situation. What you see here is another installment of the questions and answers document from the procurement process from L&I. And this was dated May 26 this year. Remember, I was going to continue informing you about this, but then the SOSi app crashed, so I had to report on that. Now we're back to this, and I want to show you a couple of the answers we received from L&I that I thought may be of interest to our community. Here, in this answer, L&I says, L&I reserves the right to review and approve other interpreter credentials submitted from agencies or organizations other than those listed in L&I's policy. Now, what does this mean? Well, L&I accepts certifications from DSHS and interpreters that are certified nationally, but they also have other certifications that they receive or accept if you want to be a contractor to provide interpretation services for injured workers. But here, they're letting you know they reserve the right to approve other credentials from other organizations. And this is a problem because, unfortunately, they could receive any certification from any agency, even if those certifications do not guarantee that the interpreter would be up to standard or skilled enough to provide interpretation for injured workers. And this is all because of the WFSE union and the law they passed back in 2018. Let me show you. You see, back in 2018, the WFSE union introduced a law that changed the landscape for interpretation services, including introducing a scheduling system. But I want to show you a particular provision within this law that affects credentialing. Now, if you read with me, this is on page 4 of that law, Senate Bill 6245. I've talked about this many other times in my channel, but for those of you that are new interpreters or didn't get a chance to see those videos, read with me line 30 here. It says all interpreter services must be provided by language access providers who are certified or authorized by the state or nationally certified. And that sounds good, but when you jump to line 34, it says here, when a nationally certified, state certified, or authorized language access provider is not available, a state agency is authorized to contract with a spoken language interpreter with other certifications or qualifications deemed to meet agency needs. That could be interpreted by a language agency, by a state agency like L&I or DSHS, when they have a situation like they don't have an interpreter to cover a specific appointment. They could use any interpreter that has another certification other than DSHS or nationally that they think would meet their needs. So anybody with any certification, even though it doesn't guarantee they're skilled enough, the state agency can use those interpreters, including overseas interpreters. So we have no protection because of the WFSE geniuses that wrote this language. So we're not important enough here in Washington State. Your DSHS certification does not give you exclusivity. L&I and DSHS and other state agencies, they can use any interpreter with that excuse. Oh, we didn't find a DSHS or nationally certified interpreter, so we're going to use this person here with a certification they got 6 hours ago from any other certifying body, which is a disgrace. Let's continue. Another very important question that LNI answered here pertains to the equitable distribution of assignments. It says right here, can LNI clarify expectations regarding fair and equitable distribution of assignments when balancing proximity, availability, performance history, and provider preferences? And the LNI answer here says, LNI's preference is for the contractor's proposed scheduling system to distribute appointments to the LIPs based on their proximity to the service address. Now, this is a problem, and this is the way that the scheduling system has been operating. Now under SOSi, they will send you appointments depending on how close you are to a service address. And to me, that's a mistake, because that limits you from being able to see other appointments that are maybe far away from you, but you're willing to drive there even when we're not getting paid mileage, because maybe you see an appointment that's 4 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours, a surgery that's in North Seattle when you live in Tacoma, but you're willing to drive there because those are going to be like good hours for you. But how can you take advantage of those appointments if that's not available to you? Because you only see appointments based on your proximity to a specific service address. To me, this is a mistake. This is limiting you as a contractor. The correct solution to this, the solution would be to let you see all appointments at once, statewide. And then if you are overwhelmed with so many appointments, then they can let you reset or establish your miles radius. Let's see, you don't want to see appointments farther than 40 miles from your location, but you toggle on, you configure that within your app. That would be the right solution. You get to determine how far you want to see appointments and receive requests. And here somebody asked, what's LNI's projected date for a new vendor to start? And LNI's answer here is LNI's target rollout for interpretation services provided under the new contract is February 2027. That's still like 8 months out. This is crazy. We have to deal with this horrible company and their app crashes. I'm talking about SOSi until February. Something, in my opinion, needs to be done, so a new company could take over as soon as possible to cover some of the overlap here, because the situation is not good for any of us. And when it comes to the app crashes happening since June 11th, this is an email from June 18th when SOSi claimed that they had resolved the issues on the app, but most of the issues plaguing interpreters have not been resolved, including intermittent timeout or loading issues related to accepting appointments and modified appointments creating potential schedule conflicts or overlaps. And there are so many other issues, like the app is so slow. It's crazy. So these issues are still not resolved for the majority of interpreters. I do appreciate the emails letting us know they know we're frustrated. That's great. But these issues have not been resolved. Then we have another email here from SOSi on June 24th. Here they're telling you that the performance and access update was completed at about 11 a.m. on June 23rd. They're saying that LAPs can now withdraw from an assignment through the on-the-spot app, and that's completely not true, because you cannot withdraw from an assignment using the app. It doesn't have, for most interpreters, the scroll-down menu to select a reason for withdrawing an appointment. Therefore, you cannot withdraw from an appointment. Regarding check-in and check-out time, status visibility, and reporting accuracy, this issue is being addressed as part of the app updates. But that's still a problem. Today is, as of the recording of this video, is July 1st, and we're still dealing with these issues. You know, when a big company like Apple, with their phones, the iPhones, they release an update. An update is supposed, for the most part, to resolve issues and bugs. And those updates, they do. But this update from the on-the-spot app, it made things worse. This is just unacceptable, unbelievable. And when some interpreters turn to the union, supposed to be fixing these issues because they're getting union dues to do that, this is an email from the WFSE union on June 22nd. They're telling you here to lend a voice and support by emailing LNI to tell them to fix the inherently unfair rules they have established for LNI payments. Yes, of course, I understand participation from interpreters, but if you cannot do the job yourself and you need interpreters, then what do we need you for? This is food for thought for all of you guys, okay? Let me show you what else they said. It says right here, they met on Monday the 22nd for negotiations and were met with proposals from the state that refused to address our concerns. Once again, they are powerless because whenever they want something implemented, the state simply says no. It says right here, the state refuses to take any responsibility for discriminatory actions by coordinating entities and providers. The state refuses to hold the coordinating entities responsible for making necessary information available to you regarding your assignments available on their platforms, like you have to have enough information before accepting an appointment, and the state saying, forget about that. And the WFSE union is powerless and insists that both the state and our union only utilize costly avenues for our grievances, all while insisting that there is no money. These people from the WFSE union, it's all a racket. You know, they go there, they take a picture, they're making it look like they're doing something while doing nothing, and they want you to do the heavy lifting and steal, but they still want your money to keep up with the charade. There is nothing that the WFSE union can do to make the state agencies do anything for interpreters. And the WFSE union designed it that way because they both represent state workers at LNI and the interpreters. They have a conflict of interest relationship. They represent the employer, which is LNI, you know, and they represent us interpreters. So they have to make somebody happy, and every single time they choose to make LNI happy, and they have no leverage. Let me show you why. And this is, once again, Senate Bill 6245, introduced into the legislature, the Washington State Legislature, back in 2018. Usually, when a union wants to exert pressure, right, to apply pressure to an employer, they said, fine, you don't want to meet our conditions, we're going to strike. And then the workers don't show up to work, right? But not in this case. You know why? Well, let me show you. If you go to page 13 of that bill, line 37 says clearly, language access providers do not have the right to strike. There you go. This is a bill, a law that the union wrote and introduced, taking all the power away from themselves. So we have no leverage. So when they tell you, we're demanding this, this, and that, LNI says, no, and what are you going to do about it? And the union is like, okay, we're going to keep on yelling and begging. Begging is all they can do for interpreters. Is that what you're happy with? To beg the state to give you breadcrumbs? Because that's what's happening, because we have no power or leverage. The union doesn't have any leverage whatsoever. So what are you giving them your money for? And as you see them, you know, they want to post, taking pictures, smiling. These are some of the quote-unquote leaders on the bargaining team, and they go there with their script and talk to the state, and the state says, yeah, we're working on something, and nothing happens because it's all theater. They continue saying here, our union has constantly been making LNI aware of the issues related to the SOSi WordBridge app update fiasco. And then they ask you to send the email above and take some time to let LNI know how the app update has impacted you. Now let me ask you something. Do you need the union to remind you to send an email to LNI? Of course not. You've been doing this yourself. And if they're going to the state, and by their own words, LNI is telling them we're not doing anything. They don't want to cooperate. They don't want to prove anything. They have no money, right? And they fail to recognize what's going on. Then why are you giving them your money? We can email LNI ourselves. If we're not going to be heard or if we get anything in return, it's not because the union is doing anything for you. Now, I want you to listen to a message, a voice message that I received from an interpreter via the WhatsApp. And this interpreter is sharing their frustrations with the crashes and an interaction that they had with a WFSE leader and the solution that this leader told the interpreter. Just so you see how crazy and how unaccountable these so-called leaders are. Let's listen.
Hola Juan, ¿cómo estás? Muy buenas tardes. Te quería mandar un mensaje porque pues el sistema sigue siendo una rotunda mierda. Como a las 4 y algo salió la piñata de citas, el puto portal se cayó, el WordBridge se cayó, no servía, y yo estaba tratando de recoger citas acá en la aplicación, pero también se les cayó. Hizo el crash. Entonces salieron citas buenas aquí por mi zona que pude haber recogido y pues me quedé sin nada, lo que es absolutamente nada. Es algo que la verdad no puede continuar, Juan. No les he estado mandando cantidad de emails, el resto de los compañeros han estado haciendo lo mismo, una cantidad, o sea, como no te imaginas, de emails a SOSi. Desde que ocurrió esto, lo único que han podido arreglar es que ya no te marca las 8 horas, la restricción de las 8 horas. De ahí en más, el sistema es una mierda, está lentísimo, es como ir del Windows 11 a Windows XP. Es una mierda. El interface de la aplicación a cada rato te pone una pendejada de que algo de timeout, 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 timeout. Y como le dije a los de la Unión, los de WFSE, o sea, ustedes tienen que hacer algo. Y una tal Magda me dice, no es que nosotros como la Unión tengamos que hacer algo, es que todos somos la Unión, todos tenemos que estar haciendo algo. Por eso yo le dije, sí, pero si los putos emails que estamos mandando todos no nos llevan a ningún lado, ustedes como Unión son los que tienen que empezar a poner presión. No sé si hay algo más que se pueda hacer entonces cuando tengo un grupo de intérpretes, de amigos, de colegas a los cuales yo les dije, miren, si nos ponemos las pilas nosotros, porque hay mucho pinche intérprete que mientras no le afecte lo que está pasando no quiere hacer nada. Entonces yo les dije a estos compañeros, vamos a juntarnos y cualquier cosita, por más trivial que sea, vamos a mandar una queja.
Now I want to thank this interpreter for sharing with me that audio message. Now you heard this interpreter, the frustration, sharing the frustration that we all have with this crash app and the insanely mediocre way we have been dealt with by the SOSi company and the union, and for the union leader, Magda, to say, we're all the union, you have to call LNI. Well, if we have to call LNI and apply pressure, what do we need you for? That's the real question here. The union cannot strike. The union cannot apply any kind of pressure or make LNI do anything. Then what are you giving your money for? I mean, you want to be a sucker and give him your money for nothing? Be my guest. The reason I'm making these videos is not only to inform you, but also to make you understand, to expose how this union works. So you understand we're far better off fighting by ourselves, okay, contacting LNI, looking for a solution within our community than giving away our money to these union leaders when they do nothing. In the meantime, what is it that we can do? Well, keep contacting LNI, keep saving screenshots and emails from the SOSi company just to keep a record of their responses and when the app crashes and all the issues that you have. Feel free to email LNI, Christy Miller, and LNI leaders. And if you want to share some of those emails with me, I'll keep them also saved for future references and to also apply pressure. So do that. I have more information for all of you coming our way within the next few video updates. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video. Whether you are a DSHS or an LNI interpreter, you do have the right to opt out of the WFSE union and stop paying union dues. We must get rid of this horrible union. So go to optouttoday.com/WFSE 1671 to do so and keep your hard-earned money. See you in the next one.